of what you're willing to allow yourself to be, because you're yielding to God. Does that answer your question?
Much clearer. When I feel your words about me individually and my relationship to God, it makes sense. When I get myself into a group and we're talking about war, and it just becomes, it's not applicable. It is applicable, but it has to start from here. And
That's
I felt
right.
your last suggestion was great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Let's go to Robbie first.
When I was trying to understand this, it took a long time to understand it. But you've been talking about this since right after September 11th, and how I've been able to understand it is I get flooded with all of these other pictures of the same situation, but on a smaller scale and closer. And when there's an integrity to it, it will run through every single one of those examples, and it'll fit in every single example because it's universal. I'm not able to really say it very well, but it should fit every single circumstance. And it does. And that's how you can tell that you've got it. You've honed in on it.
Exactly.
Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mark?
You've told me more than once I'm not a sperm and an egg. Is DNA part of the mutually agreed upon definitions?
No.
It's the way things work?
No. Nothing that you see is the way things work. The way things work and things working because God is being creation look like that. It's going to look like something. And no matter how great the magnification of the microscope with which you look at the visibility and tangibility of God, you're going to find order. And it's going to look like something. But what it looks like isn't what makes it work like it works. God working, God being the movement of creation, looks like something. And it's because of what God is being that it looks like it looks. And part of the problem everyone is having in your scientific community is that you are looking at it as though you're trying to arrive at God, but they would say the ultimate meaning of what they're studying. They are trying to arrive at the ultimate meaning by studying what they have defined to be matter. And so they're all studying their mutually agreed upon definition, which is that this is some result of a Big Bang, a physical event that had nothing to do with God. If they would look at it as though they were seeing the visibility and tangibility of God, mind, they would begin to discover radically new things.
There are mutually agreed upon definitions about DNA.
Indeed.
But DNA
one of which is that it's matter,
right,
instead
right.
of spirit. That it identifies some self-existent substance rather than the look of what God is being.
DNA is love.
All substance is
Right.
love.
Yeah. One thing I did notice,
All substance is spirit.
you said that the suffering wasn't some generic suffering, that it was specific to your experience. What's on your plate? That's the word you used. And we're all here listening, and I just want to help everybody remember that the foundation is suffering. Because that seems to be on my plate.
You know what? Suffering is need unmet. Very simply. So look where there is need and find a way to meet it. Not through your best judgments, not through your best definitions, not through any separated vantage point, but by recognizing the need and saying, God, what's the truth here? God, what do I need to see? Not about this illusion, but what do I need to see about the reality that this illusion is about? And what do I need to know and feel in order to address the need so that the need disappears and is replaced by need met, which means no need.
Should I read?
Good evening, Raj.
Good evening.
As I'm sitting here listening to what you're saying about groups within groups within groups, and we are all immersed in definitions, and how are we to be in this sea of definitions, which I see, which I'm beginning to, it occurred to me that just reverberating reactions, constantly reverberating reactions to everything. That if we are joined with the Father, we are embodying meaning. So we're coming into any situation with the embodiment of meaning, which is the answer.
Yes?
And so whatever we're looking at or whatever is coming across our field of vision, we see the answer.
And
In other words, we don't make decisions anymore.
that is correct.
Because the answer, we see what the answer is, or the need in the moment for that particular moment. Because we're joined.
You are the answer.
Right. But what I'm trying to say here is we're in a state of observation, not in a state of reaction.
Not observation can be from a distance. It is better to say that you are in a state of awareness,
Okay.
of alert consciousness, from which it is easy for you to act with utter appropriateness in ways that allow for shifting to occur without increasing fear on the part of the one doing the shifting. So, you see, one can observe without being involved. And so I do not want that word observation to be employed very often.
What I'm trying to say is if you have a blank mind, meaning you don't have a lot of definitions and judgments, you're trying to be in wherever you are without any definitions. You're looking, you're trying to look with clear eyes, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're trying to just see what is really going on here. I mean,
You're saying, Father, show me what
show
is
me
really
what is
going on.
going on. But you've made your, and I don't know if this is the correct word, private, but when you go within, your connection, and then you're moving from then on in a continuous state of asking, or because you're feeling your way through the situation, not trying to think
That is correct.
or join with the definition. So everything, you're not connected by definition anymore.
That is correct. You are not connected by definitions.
Right.
Correct.
So just that being, that state of being, everyone feels the disconnect of you from that, which is what I think you were saying when you stand out.
Others will feel your disconnect, but at the same time, they will feel your connection with the answer.
Right.
They will feel your connection with capital M meaning, and you will be involved and extending the gift that piques their curiosity and doesn't threaten them.
This takes a lot of practice.
It does. And
'Cause I'm-
practice comes from involvement.
Involvement. In other words, I know I blow it on a lot, but I'm repeating it. I'm not running away from it now, so that I'll get the feel of it more and more, and I become more sensitive to what is needed.
Yes,
I mean, you've got to start somewhere, even if it's in judgment. At least you will get the feedback so that you can refine and refine and refine.
that is correct.
Okay, I think I see what you're saying. Thanks.
You are welcome.
Okay, I'd like to take this back to the Course directly and see if I can make it apply to the generic suffering, or specifically some of what you mentioned that seems to be out my purview, such as starving in Africa, or AIDS in Africa, or starving in Korea, or the pending war in Iraq versus the tyranny in Iraq. And do it in a way that doesn't put me in Michael's pseudo happy dream that isn't shared by every citizen of the planet.
We love you, Michael.
I love you, Michael. And in the Course, there seems to be a contradiction or a very difficult point that you highlighted there in that, and I thought of immediately two lessons in the workbook, one of which, lesson 38, there is nothing my holiness cannot do, and conversely, when you talked about choosing to turn towards the altar rather than being for or against, my thought was to the lesson that said that plane crash, God did not create that plane crash, so it cannot be real. God did not create that famine, so it cannot be real. God did not create that war, and so it can't be real. God did not create that tyranny, and so it cannot be real. Which seems to be the place Michael was coming from. And that is a lesson in the Course, but I'm sure somehow it ties into also there is nothing my holiness cannot do, and there is a merger of the two between action and belief.
Absolutely. And there better be the merger. Now, what I've shared tonight needs not to be used as a way of moving into a safe zone where you're having a much clearer picture of how it works, and therefore you can go home this week and mull over what I've said and enjoy it like a tasty morsel that you roll around on your mental tongue. And maybe for the next 7 days, you don't have to pay attention to what you're seeing in the newspaper or what you're seeing on the TV and having a vote to cast about it. I didn't say having an opinion about it, but caring enough to ask within until you are infilled with a clarity so that you know what your vote is. And then, especially if it's not a vote that you like, daring to commit to it anyway and doing the hard work of having to act in harmony with God's will, whether you like it or not. That's what's hard. You've got to get your hands dirty. And you've got to deal with things that you don't like, because there are things that are wrong going on that need to be corrected. And you know what? I'm going to leave you tonight with something to consider. Judgment is called for in your process of yielding to the Father, in your process of waking up. There is a great tendency to look at things that are going on and say, like I've said before, it's an illusion, or that's just their perception. And never arrive at a point of saying, this works and this doesn't. This reflects God and this doesn't. You have to make a distinction between the tares and the wheat. And you have to cast your vote. You have to learn to recognize what is real and what is unreal, and commit to what is real and withdraw your commitment from what is not. And you can't stay in a safe, non-committal place where you're saying, that's just your opinion, or that's just your perception, or that's just their perception. It's not real anyway. And refrain from making the distinction between what is true and what is not, and committing to what is and withdrawing your commitment from what is not. Again, we're talking about becoming involved. Not talking about having an opinion. You're going to have to ask the Father, is this real or not? You're going to have to make distinctions, or you are forever going to be stuck in the mutually agreed upon definitions. your mutually agreed upon definitions are not true. And until you are willing to look at them squarely to find out whether they are or not, so that you can see that they are not, you won't know how to make the correction. And if you don't make the correction, it goes on uncorrected and you're still in the dream. One way or another, you're going to get off the fence, and I'm not going to let you forget that that's what you're here for. And it means involvement. It means caring enough to discern what is true and what is not, so that you can withdraw your investment of energy and attention from what is not true. Because until you invest your energy in what is true, you will not be embodying God, and you will not get to a happy dream. If we ever get to the next section, you will see that it's called the meaning of the last judgment. So, hey people, it's time to discover how good the meat and potatoes of the course are. But you're going to have to chew in order to digest it. You're going to have to put forth the effort. And stop wishing for parfaits and pudding and nice, soft, sweet stuff. You see? Okay. Now, Michael? This can be fun. It can be, but it won't be. I have selected Michael to be the only one. No, this applies to everyone. See, I use meat and potatoes, and I know there are many who savor and thoroughly delight in a good meat and potatoes meal, even though it's more difficult to digest than pudding and parfaits and ice cream. And I'm saying that the effort needed to be put forth in order to be involved, in order to not be on the fence, in order to embody, to act out into manifestation, the clearer manifestation of God, is as satisfying as meat and potatoes is. But if you're delicate and you think spirituality is about delicate but beautiful things, you know, floating around in pinkness and lavender, meat and potatoes is not going to sound desirable to you. I'm telling you that the meat and potatoes of waking up is satisfying. The work, the effort you have to put forth to care enough for your brother and sister to become involved, to get off the fence and act in ways that change the world, so that any video camera scanning the scene will see harmony and peace and beauty and love expressed. Is worth it, is satisfying. So, sit with that for a week. Soberly, groundedly. And don't let fun be a distraction from the joy that will become available to you when you care enough to make the gift of love. Okay. We did get through one paragraph. But you all moved through a lot of, you moved through and out of a lot of muck that had been weighing you down. I love you all. Okay.
Thank you.